Supreme Commander Jay of the Hegemony War Council, stood on the bridge of his enormous ship, the final word. He was tall, even for his species, with dark scales that shimmered in the ship's lights. Around him, officers worked at their stations, preparing the largest fleet the Hegemony had ever gathered. "Status report," Jay demanded. Colonel Min approached with a data tablet. She was Jay's most trusted officer, known for her calm even in battle. "All ships report ready, Supreme Commander. The 1st Fleet, 3rd Fleet, and 7th Fleet are in position. 1,200 warships awaiting your command." Jay nodded slowly. "And the humans still refuse to accept our terms?" "Yes, sir. Captain Tay's diplomatic mission has failed. The humans demand we recognize them as equals and cease all forced annexations of other worlds." Jay made a sound of disgust. "Equals? They are barely out of their cradle. One planet with some hidden technology does not make them our equals." "Sir," Min said carefully, "Captain Tay's report suggests they have more than one planet. Many more." "Lies and illusions," Jay dismissed with a wave of his hand. "They showed her holograms, to frighten her. Our deep space scans have found no evidence of widespread human colonies." Min hesitated. "The intelligence division suggests their technology might be capable of hiding." "Enough," Jay cut her off. "The Council has given me full authority. We will show these humans the true meaning of power. They stopped one ship. Let's see them. Stop 1,000. He turned to the navigation officer. "Prepare for jump to Earth coordinates. All ships. Battle formation Delta." The massive fleet disappeared in flashes of light, the fabric of space bending around them. Moments later, they reappeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. Immediately, the sensor officers began shouting, "Supreme Commander, massive objects detected orbiting the gas giants. Energy readings off all charts. Sir, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies." Jay straightened his uniform. "Put it on screen." The main display showed a human male with short gray hair and a face marked with age lines. He wore a simple dark uniform with small silver symbols on the collar. "Hegemony vessels, this is Admiral Sung of the Human Federation Defense Force. You have entered protected space without permission. Power down your weapons and engines immediately." Jay stepped forward. "This is Supreme Commander Jay of the Galactic Hegemony. Earth falls within our expansion zone. Submit to Hegemony authority or be destroyed." Admiral Sung's face showed no fear, no worry. If anything, he looked tired, as if he had seen this many times before. "You were warned by General Kim and Captain Tay," he said. "The defense force at Earth was only our local protection unit. Now you face the actual Federation, Navy." As he spoke, the fleet sensors detected movement. What they had thought were moons around Jupiter and Saturn began to move. They weren't moons at all, but massive ships and stations, hidden in plain sight. "Supreme Commander," whispered Colonel Min, "those ships are enormous." Jay stared at the sensor readings in shock. Each of the human vessels was larger than his flagship. Some were 10 times larger. And there were hundreds of them, moving into perfect formation with practiced ease. "Impossible," he said. "Our scans of Earth showed nothing like this capability." "As intended," replied Admiral Sung from the screen. "Final warning. Stand down." Pride and anger filled Jay's mind. He had brought the greatest fleet in hegemony history. To retreat now would end his career, his reputation. He could not show weakness. "All ships," he commanded, "target the human fleet and fire." The hegemony fleet unleashed its full power. Planet killer beams, gravity torpedoes, antimatter missiles, weapons that could crack open worlds and shatter moons. The human fleet made no move to dodge. Instead, the deadly barrage simply vanished several kilometers from the human ships. No explosions, no impacts. The attacks just stopped existing. "What happened?" Jay demanded. "Where did our weapons go?" "Their shields," a tactical officer said in awe. They just absorbed everything. Power levels didn't even flicker." On the screen, Admiral Sung sighed deeply. "Very well. A demonstration is required." A single human ship, small compared to their largest vessels, moved forward. A thin beam of light shot out, so precise it was almost invisible. It touched one of the hegemony heavy cruisers. The massive warship didn't explode or break apart. It simply disappeared. One moment it was there with its crew of 12,000. The next it was gone, leaving not even dust behind. Stunned silence fell across the hegemony bridge. That, said Admiral Sung, was our smallest patrol vessel. You have 10 minutes to power down all systems or we will be forced to take more serious action. Colonel Min moved close to Jay. Sir, they just erased the eternal glory from existence. Our shields would do nothing against such a weapon. Jay's mind raced. He had never faced a defeat, never even considered it possible. But the evidence before him was clear. The humans had just destroyed one of his best ships with almost no effort. Supreme Commander, Min pressed, we have 1,200 ships and the lives of their crews in your hands. Please consider carefully. Jay's pride fought with his duty. As a warrior, he wanted to fight to the end. As a commander responsible for millions of lives, he knew there was only one choice. Send the surrender signal, he said, the words bitter in his mouth. A wise decision, Admiral Sung said from the screen. Power down your weapons and propulsion systems. You will follow our escort vessels to a designated holding area. Your crews will not be harmed. As the orders spread through the fleet, Jay slumped into his command chair. How? How could they hide such power? Sir, said a science officer who had been working frantically at his station, I've been analyzing their technology. Their energy signatures don't match anything in our database. I don't think they're using the same physics we are. Explain, demanded Jay. Our technology is based on manipulating normal space-time. But it's like they're accessing another layer of reality. The weapons fire didn't hit a barrier. It was removed from our universe entirely. Colonel Min looked at the human ships on the display. You're saying they're more advanced than us? Not just more advanced, the science officer replied. It's like comparing stone tools to antimatter drives. We're not even using the same principles. As the hegemony fleet followed the human escort ships, Jay watched more human vessels appear from hiding places throughout the solar system. Hundreds more ships emerging from behind moons, from within the rings of Saturn, from the clouds of Jupiter. They could have destroyed us at any time, Min realized. This wasn't even a battle. It was mercy. Jay felt something he had never experienced before, the cold weight of complete defeat. Not just his defeat, but potentially the defeat of the entire hegemony way of life. If these humans were this powerful, and if they truly controlled as many worlds as they claimed, send a message to the War Council, he ordered. Maximum priority. The humans possess technology far beyond our understanding. Advise immediate cessation of all hostile actions in preparation for significant changes to hegemony policy. As the message was sent, Jay watched the Earth growing larger on the view screen. He had come to conquer a world. Instead, he might have just witnessed the beginning of the end of hegemony power. And somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered that perhaps this was justice. Perhaps the days of conquering lesser species should end. His thoughts were interrupted by Admiral Sung's voice from the communication system. Supreme Commander Jay, you will be transported to Earth for discussions with our diplomatic corps. Captain Tay will meet you there. The rest of your fleet will remain here under supervision. Understood, Jay replied, his voice hollow. One more thing, added Admiral Sung. What you have seen today is only our Jupiter Defense Group. The actual Federation Navy has not been deployed. Jay looked up sharply. What do you mean? These are not your main forces? Admiral Sung's expression remained calm. No, Supreme Commander. The real army hasn't even arrived yet. For everyone's sake, let's hope it never has to. Admiral Sora of the Galactic Hegemony stared at the holographic display with growing concern. His fleet of 200 warships, the pride of the Hegemony's third expansion force, had surrounded the small blue-green planet on the edge of the Orion Arm. Intelligence had classified this world as a pre-FTL civilization, ripe for annexation under Protocol 77B. Pitiful. remarked Commander Day, his second in command. Their orbital stations are practically defenseless. No shield technology, primitive propulsion systems. Sora nodded. Begin the standard intimidation protocol. Target their largest military. Installation with a Class 3 demonstration strike. The command rippled through the fleet. A massive dreadnought moved into position, its main cannon charging with blinding energy. The beam lanced down toward Earth's surface, aiming for an unpopulated area near a military base in the Mojave Desert. The blast never reached the ground. Instead, a shimmering field appeared in the atmosphere, absorbing the energy completely. Silence fell across the command bridge. "Impossible," whispered Day. "Our scans showed no planetary shield capability." Before Sora could respond, the communications officer called out, "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the surface." A human face appeared on the main screen, a woman with calm eyes and an expression that showed neither fear nor surprise. "Greetings, Galactic Hegemony vessels. I am General Hana Kim of Earth's Defense Force. I must inform you that your unauthorized weapons discharge has been logged as a Class 1 violation of interstellar conduct. Please stand down your weapons systems and prepare for diplomatic contact." Sora's antennae twitched with confusion. How do they know who we are? How do they have our communication protocols? Another officer frantically worked at his station. "Admiral, I'm detecting energy signatures activating around the planet. They're powering up weapon systems we didn't detect in our initial scans." "Impossible," Sora repeated. "Their technology is centuries behind ours." General Hana Kim's image remained on screen, her slight smile now taking on an almost pitying quality. "Admiral, I should inform you that what you see before you is merely Earth's local defense force. The real army hasn't even arrived yet. I suggest you reconsider your position while you still can." Admiral Sora sat alone in his quarters aboard the flagship. His neck tendons were tight with shame. The failed attack on Earth had shocked the entire crew. 3 days had passed since General Hana Kim had stopped their weapons with ease. 3 days of waiting for orders from the Hegemony Council. 3 days of wondering how humans had hidden their true power. The door chimed. Commander Day entered, his face grim. "The Council has sent Captain Tay to handle talks with the humans," Day said. "We are ordered to stand down." Sora slammed his fist on the desk. "This is my mission. I should fix this." "They blame you for firing first," Day said simply. "Captain." "Tay arrives tomorrow with diplomats." Across the fleet, the news spread quickly. Many officers felt relief, others felt shame. The mighty Hegemony ships now just waited in Earth orbit, weapons powered down, watched by unseen human defenses. Captain Tay was not happy with her new mission. As her ship, the Peaceseeker, approached Earth, she studied all reports about the failed attack. "These humans stopped our strongest weapon like it was nothing," she said to her team. "Yet our scans showed them as primitive." Diplomat Yuna, her chief advisor, nodded. "It makes no sense. They have basic space stations and old rockets. Our scans showed no advanced shields or weapons." "Scans can be wrong," Tay said. "Or they can be tricked." As Earth grew larger on their screens, Tay felt a strange mix of fear and wonder. The blue planet looked so peaceful. Hard to believe its people had humbled the great Hegemony fleet without firing a shot. When they neared Earth orbit, a message came through. "Welcome, Captain Tay," said a calm human voice. "I am General Hana Kim. Please dock at these coordinates." The coordinates led to a massive space station that hadn't been there 3 days ago. It hung in orbit, gleaming and elegant. Nothing like the crude satellites they had detected earlier. "Where did that come from?" gasped Yuna. "Our fleet saw nothing like this." Tay's eyes narrowed. "More tricks. These humans are not what they seem." The Peaceseeker docked smoothly. When the airlock opened, Tay led her team of 5 into the station. They were met by a small group of humans. At the front stood a woman with straight posture and confident eyes, General Hana Kim. Beside her was an older man with gray hair at his temples. "Welcome to Earth Station 1, said General Kim with a small bow. "This is Professor Yun, head of our First Contact Division." Tay returned the bow, following the briefing on human customs. I bring greetings from the Hegemony Council. We wish to understand what happened and make peace. Of course, said General Kim with a slight smile. Please follow us. They walked through wide corridors filled with technology that shocked Tay. The walls seemed alive with energy. Doors opened without commands. Humans worked at control stations with displays that floated in the air. Your technology, Tay said carefully. It is far beyond what our scans detected. Professor Yun nodded. Yes, that was deliberate. They entered, a large room with a round table. After they sat, General Kim touched a control and the table surface came alive with light. A perfect image of Earth appeared, floating above them. You have questions, said Kim. Let me show you some answers. With a wave of her hand, the image changed. Now they could see giant structures around Earth, structures that had been invisible before, space stations, defense platforms, shipyards. This is impossible, whispered Yuna. Our best scanners saw nothing. Because we didn't want them to, said Professor Yun. What your admiral saw was a mask, a fake version of Earth we let outsiders see. The image expanded, showing the solar system. More hidden structures appeared around Mars, Venus, and the moons of Jupiter. Humanity hasn't been confined to Earth for over 200 years, explained General Kim. What you scanned was essentially a museum piece. Earth as it once was, preserved for historical value. Tay felt cold dread spreading through her body. You're saying Earth is not your only world? Earth is our homeworld, our heart, said Professor Yun, but not our only home. The display expanded again, now showing nearby star systems. Dozens of them glowed with signs of human presence. We have watched the hegemony for decades, continued Kim. We've seen how you treat weaker species, how you absorb them for their own good. We decided to appear weak to see what you would do. A trap, said Tay. General Kim's face hardened slightly. A test, one your admiral failed by firing on us. Professor Yun stood and walked around the table. For centuries, we humans fought each other. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times. When we finally reached the stars, we promised never to conquer others as we once conquered ourselves. The hegemony brings order and progress, Tay defended, but her voice lacked conviction. The hegemony brings submission, countered Kim. We humans tried that path in our history. It never ends well. The display changed again. Now it showed vast fleets of human ships, hidden throughout the solar system. Ships far larger and more advanced than anything the hegemony possessed. What you saw wasn't even our defense force, said Kim. What Admiral Sora faced was the equivalent of a local police station. Our real military never even showed up. Tay looked at the massive fleets on display, then at her team's shocked faces. Everything they knew about humanity was wrong. The hegemony had stumbled into something far bigger than they could have imagined. What happens now? Tay asked quietly. General, Kim's expression softened. That depends on the hegemony. We don't want war. We never do. But we will not be conquered, and we will not allow others to be conquered, if we can help it. The Council needs to know all this, said Tay, her mind racing. With the implications, yes, agreed Professor Yun. They do, because the choice before them is simple. Join us as equals in the stars or continue trying to rule others and face the consequences. Tay understood then that everything had changed. The hegemony had always seen itself as the greatest power among the stars. Now they had found their match, or perhaps their better. And she knew with sudden clarity that her mission was no longer about salvaging a failed conquest. It was about saving the hegemony from a war it could not win. The Grand Council chamber of the hegemony was silent. 50 alien leaders sat around the massive circular table, each representing a different species in the hegemony alliance. No one spoke. No one moved. They had just finished watching the recording from Supreme Commander Jay's flagship. They had seen their greatest fleet rendered helpless. They had watched one of their most powerful warships simply vanish. Chancellor Han, the elected head of the Hegemony Council, finally broke the silence. He was old even by his species standards, his gray skin wrinkled with age. "Is this recording verified?" he asked, his voice low. "Yes, Chancellor," replied the intelligence director, a small being with 6 eyes. "We have confirmed it with multiple sources. The human technology is beyond our understanding." Captain Tay stood at the speaker's position. She had returned from Earth 2 days ago, rushed back to the hegemony capital to deliver her report in person. "Supreme Commander Jay surrendered the fleet," she continued. "The humans disabled their weapons but allowed the ships to return home. They called it a gesture of goodwill." Another council member, General Bach of the military caste, slammed his fist on the table. "Goodwill? They humiliated us. We should gather every ship in the hegemony and strike back." "With what result?" asked Tay calmly. "Did you not see what one small human ship did to the Eternal Glory? Their smallest patrol vessel destroyed our heavy cruiser without effort. The chamber doors opened. All heads turned as a human woman walked in, escorted by hegemony guards. She wore a simple gray suit and carried no visible weapons. "Council members," Chancellor Han said, his voice tight. "This is Professor Lee, the human representative." Professor Lee bowed slightly to the assembly. "Thank you for allowing me to address you." "You come here after destroying one of our ships?" snapped General Bach. Professor Lee met his gaze calmly. "A ship that was firing planet-killer weapons at us. We responded with minimal force, targeting only one vessel as a demonstration. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in seconds." The truth of her words silenced even General Bach. Chancellor Han gestured to an empty seat. "Please, Professor, tell us why you have come." Lee sat down, her movements smooth and confident. "The Human Federation has existed for over 200 years. During that time, we have encountered 47 other intelligent species across this arm of the galaxy." Shocked murmurs ran through the chamber. "Impossible," said the science minister. "Our long-range scans have detected no evidence of such widespread civilization." "Because we have hidden them from you," Lee replied simply, "and ourselves as well." She placed a small device on the table. It projected a holographic map of the galaxy, far more detailed than any the hegemony possessed. It showed thousands of inhabited star systems, connected by travel routes organized into regions. "The galaxy is much more populated than you know," Lee continued. "When we first ventured beyond our solar system, we discovered many young species. Some were pre-spaceflight, others were just beginning to explore their own star systems. All were vulnerable, and you conquered them," said General Bach with certainty. Lee shook her head. "No, we protected them. You see, we had already learned the lesson your hegemony has not. Conquest leads only to rebellion and war. True strength comes from cooperation and mutual respect. These protected species," Chancellor Han said carefully, "they joined your federation willingly?" "Yes, as equals, not subjects." Lee gestured to the map. "Each maintains its own culture, its own government. We share technology, resources, and defense. That is the key difference between the Federation and the hegemony. You absorb, we cooperate." The intelligence director studied the map with all 6 eyes widened. "If this is accurate, your Federation is many times larger than the hegemony." "It is," Lee confirmed, "which is why we've come to offer you a choice." She stood, addressing the entire council. "The hegemony stands at a crossroads. You can continue your path of conquest and face the consequences, or you can join the greater galactic community as equals." "Is that a threat?" growled General Bach. "It is reality," Lee replied. "For centuries, we have watched your expansion. We have hidden vulnerable species from your scans. We have cloaked entire civilizations to protect them from your annexation protocols. We have been patient, hoping you would evolve beyond conquest on your own." "And now your patience has ended?" asked Chancellor Han. "Now we have revealed ourselves," Lee corrected. "What happens next is your choice." Captain Tay, who had been silent, now stepped forward. "Council members, I have seen the human worlds. I have studied their history. They are not bluffing about their power or their reach. You defend them? Accused General Bach. I speak the truth, Tay responded firmly. As soldiers, we are taught to recognize when we are outmatched. The humans could have destroyed Commander J's entire fleet. Instead, they disabled weapons and sent our people home safely. These are not the actions of conquerors. Chancellor Han stroked his chin thoughtfully. What exactly does the Federation propose, Professor Lee? Lee's expression softened slightly. A transition. The hegemony would gradually reform its annexation policies. Species currently under your control would be given more autonomy. In return, we would share certain technologies, medical advances, agricultural improvements, clean energy solutions, things that benefit all life. And if we refuse? Asked the Trade Minister. Then we would be forced to take more direct measures to protect vulnerable species from hegemony expansion, Lee said, her voice firm but not threatening. We prefer cooperation to confrontation, but make no mistake, we will not allow your conquest to continue. General Bach stood suddenly. I've heard enough of these threats. Guards, detain this human. The hegemony guards didn't move. Chancellor Han raised his hand. Stand down, General. Professor Lee is here under diplomatic protection. She threatens our very way of life. Bach shouted. No, said Captain Tay. She offers us a chance to evolve it. A younger council member, Minister June of the Education Guild, spoke for the first time. I have a question, Professor. You say the Federation has protected other species, but why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue hiding? Lee smiled slightly. An excellent question. The answer is simple. We believe the hegemony has potential. Your civilization has created art, music, scientific advances. Your people are capable of greatness without conquest. She looked around the chamber. And frankly, the galaxy faces challenges that require cooperation, threats that endanger all life, regardless of species or politics. What threats? Asked Chancellor Han sharply. That is a discussion for another day, Lee replied. First, we must establish trust. Chancellor Han looked at each council member, reading the room. Most seemed shocked, some angry, others thoughtful. This was the greatest challenge the hegemony had faced since its founding. We will need time to consider your offer, he said, finally. Lee nodded. Of course. The Federation understands that change cannot happen overnight. We have prepared guest quarters for me on your station. I will remain available for questions and discussions. As she prepared to leave, General Bach called out one last question. Tell me, human, what would have happened if Commander J had continued fighting? If he had not surrendered? Lee turned back, her expression solemn. Then you would have met the actual Federation fleet. I thought, Chancellor Han began, confused. The ships at Jupiter weren't your main force? No, Chancellor, said Lee, quietly. What your commander saw was our Jupiter System Defense Group. Substantial, yes, but merely one regional force. Then the real army, Tay started. Still hasn't arrived yet, confirmed Lee. And we hope it never has to. After the human left, the council erupted into heated debate. Some, like General Bach, argued for resistance. Others urged accepting the Federation's terms immediately. Captain Tay watched silently. She had seen Earth. She had walked through human ships and stations. She had studied their history, centuries of warfare and struggle, followed by a hard-won peace. She knew what the hegemony's decision should be. The question was whether pride would allow them to make it. Chancellor Han gestured for her to approach his seat. Captain, you have spent more time with these humans than anyone. Tell me honestly, can we trust them? Tay considered carefully before answering. Chancellor, in my judgment, the humans could have destroyed us at any time. They chose diplomacy instead. That tells me more than any words could. Han nodded slowly. And their claims about protecting other species? About this Federation? Believe them, Tay said simply. Their technology allows them to hide entire worlds from our scans. Who knows how long they've been watching us, testing us. And we failed their test, Han murmured. Perhaps, Tay agreed. But they're still giving us a chance to learn from that failure. That seems hopeful to me. Far above them, in orbit around the hegemony capital, Professor Lee stood at the viewport of her quarters. She watched the busy space lanes, the ships coming and going, and thought about how similar they were to human vessels from 2 centuries ago. Her communication device chimed softly. "Yes?" "The council is still debating," reported her aide from their cloaked ship nearby. "Sentiment is divided." "And the fleet?" Lee asked. "Still on standby in the neighboring system, undetected." Lee nodded to herself. "Keep them there. Let's give diplomacy every chance to succeed." She touched the viewport glass, gently looking. 5 years after first contact, Chancellor Tay, formerly Captain Tay, now elevated to the highest office in the reformed hegemony, stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic station orbiting Harmony, the neutral meeting ground established between Human Federation and hegemony space. "It's remarkable," said her aide, Counselor Yoon. "5 years ago, we thought ourselves the greatest power in the galaxy." Tay nodded. Pride and ignorance, a dangerous combination. The vast window showed ships from dozens of species moving through the busy space lanes around Harmony. Human vessels were easily identifiable by their elegant flowing lines, designs that somehow married function and aesthetics in ways hegemony engineers still struggled to comprehend. "The cultural exchange program has been overwhelmingly successful," reported Yoon. "Over 6 million hegemony citizens have visited Federation worlds, and nearly 2 million humans have toured our systems." "And the technology sharing?" Yoon consulted his pad. "Proceeding according to the agreement, the humans have provided the promised medical advancements. Mortality rates across hegemony worlds have dropped by 37%. Tay smiled slightly. "And what do the hardliners say about accepting human charity?" "They've grown quieter since the new cancer treatment saved Supreme Commander Doyen's bondmate." A soft chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal Admiral Sunwoo and Professor Jin, the human representatives to the Joint Council. "Chancellor." Tay greeted Sunwoo with a respectful bow. "Thank you for meeting us before the formal session." Tay returned the gesture. "The honor is mine, Admiral." They moved to a seating area overlooking the stars. Refreshments appeared, served by automated systems. "I've reviewed your proposal for the joint scientific mission to the Galactic core," said Tay. "It's ambitious." Professor Jin nodded. "The anomalies we've detected suggest phenomena unknown to either of our sciences. A collaborative approach seems wisest." "There was a time," Tay mused, "when the hegemony would have demanded to lead such an expedition, when we would have seen it as our right as the superior power. And now?" asked Sunwoo. "Now we understand that the universe is far larger and more complex than we imagined, that there is strength in cooperation rather than domination." Jin smiled. "A lesson humanity learned the hard way, through our own history. We nearly destroyed ourselves before we understood it." Tay looked out at the stars. "There are still those in the hegemony who resist these changes, who see our new relationship as submission rather than alliance. As there are humans who view the hegemony with suspicion," admitted Sunwoo. "Old thinking dies hard." "But it does die," said Tay. "Given enough time and evidence." A notification appeared, informing them that the joint council session would begin shortly. As they rose to depart, Tay asked a question that had been on her mind for years. "Admiral, that day when our fleet faced yours at Jupiter, Supreme Commander Doyen ordered an attack and you responded with a demonstration of power. But I've always wondered, what would have happened if he had continued to fight?" Admiral Sunwoo's expression turned solemn. "Then you would have met the actual Federation fleet." "I thought," Tay began, confused. "The thousands of ships at Jupiter weren't your main force?" "No, Chancellor," said Sunwoo quietly. "What you saw that day was our Jupiter System Defense Group. Substantial, yes, but merely one regional force." "Then the real army," Tay started. "Still hasn't arrived yet," confirmed Sunwoo, "and we hope it never has to." As they walked together toward the council chambers, Tay reflected on how a simple misunderstanding, an attempt to conquer what appeared to be a primitive world, had revealed a universe far grander and more wonderfully complex than the hegemony had ever imagined, and how sometimes the greatest power was knowing when not to use it.